Hi, everyone. Welcome to Both Sides of the Story, PBS 12's high school debate tournament. I'm your host, Alan Janae from CBS 4. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we feature the third place match of our consolation bracket. We're proud to bring you more opportunities this season to see all of our talented students debate. On tonight's show, students from West Early College High School in Denver and Holy Family High School in Broomfield compete. So let's meet our participants right now. First up is KiKai Edwards, a junior at West Early College High School in Denver. Let's meet KiKai.
My name is KiKai Edwards. I'm an 11th grader at West Early College High School. When I was a little kid, I think I was pretty mischievous. I was kind of a troublemaker. I just genuinely tried my hardest to learn new things, and I was always curious, but sometimes that ended up getting me into trouble. I think one of my favorite moments of debate was just being in the cafeteria with all the different teams in schools, because you could just feel all the positive energy, and everybody was so excited about their debates, and whether or not they had won or lost, they were just having a good time being there.
One of the unique things about KiKai that really stands out is that he has taken his skills as a debater to the practical world, where he's joined Student Voice and Leadership. And in that club, he is able to use his voice and his knowledge and his political context to speak out about social justice issues in our school community.
All right, you've met KiKai. Next up, meet Michael Dolph. He is a senior at Holy Family High School. Let's hear his story.
My name is Michael Dolph. I am a senior at Holy Family High School. Debates taught me to work hard at something, and it's really taught me how to love doing what you do, not just doing it because it's something to do or because it's fun, but doing it because I love that thing. It's taught me passion, I think.
Michael is a very charismatic, funny kid who has really, speech and debate has been one of the best things for him to draw out what's best in Michael. He, this year, is one of our captains. He's showing tremendous leadership. He is really looking to make Holy Family debate really successful. And he's just a profoundly curious, hardworking kid. So glad to have him on our team.
Now you have met Michael. Two outstanding young men. Also joining us is our special panel of experts who will offer their analysis of the debate today. They are Dominic Dezzutti, host of Colorado Decides, the election debate series produced in conjunction with CBS 4. And he is joined by Krista Kafer, a columnist with the Denver Post. Hi, Krista.
Good to be here.
Great to see you. All right, time to set our ground rules. Each side will present their case, ask each other questions, and have a chance to offer rebuttals. When it's finished, we'll go to our illustrious panel for their own questions, and we'll find out whom they felt offered the best argument. So let's get started. The issue up for debate today is, should Colorado prohibit future state government investment in China based on China's current human rights record? Let's have our coin flip right now and get things underway. Michael, I'm going to allow you to call it today. What would you like?
Heads.
Heads it is. What would you choose? Do you want the affirmative or the negative?
I'll take the affirmative.
Michael, as the proponent during this round, the floor is yours to start things off for 3 minutes. Go right ahead.
I affirm the resolution Colorado should prohibit future state government investments in China based on China's current human rights record. The atrocities in China demand a response. The question of this debate is not one of practicality, but rather it is one of morality. It's vital that we understand explicitly what is occurring within the borders of China. I would like to address two of the primary atrocities occurring in China today: forced labor and genocide. First, China has an established pattern of forced labor in response to criminal violation. According to the U.S. State Department, quote, the CCP transferred more than 80,000 detainees into forced labor into as many as 19 provinces during 2019, end quote. The Chinese Communist Party transported these alleged criminals blindfolded, shaven, and bound all throughout China. They shipped them to detention camps where they were forced to work. It's draconian, inhumane, and it doesn't end there. According to numerous sources, China has been practicing what the United Nations would classify as genocide. Quote, the Chinese government has detained up to 1 million Uyghurs over the past few years in what the state defines as re-education camps. The government is now also accused of a program of forced sterilization against Uyghur women, end quote, from the BBC 2020. The Uyghurs are a predominantly Muslim ethnic minority in China and have been the target of the CCP and subjugated to what is essentially an ethnic cleansing. They have been targeted because of their religion and have been labeled, quote, separatist auxiliaries to Al-Qaeda, end quote. They need help, and the actions of the CCP are inexcusable, and yet they are getting away with it. According to the Human Rights Watch, quote, China uses its growing economic clout to silence critics and to carry out the most intense attack on the global system for enforcing human rights since the system began to emerge in the mid-20th century, end quote, from the Human Rights Watch 2019. The path laid before us is clear. We cannot, and I repeat, cannot, continue trade relations with China. Affirming the resolution prohibiting future state government investments in China is the first step towards doing it. The resolution is asking us today to take a stand against China, and that is exactly what we should do. This is no longer about what is the most practical. It is about what is moral. We as Coloradans cannot stand by as millions suffer. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much. All right, KiKai, you now have 2 minutes for any questions and cross-examination. Go right ahead.
Okay, so do you think that ending relations with China would actually solve the issue?
Whether or not it would solve the issue is irrelevant. We can't engage with trade relations with a country with such a little regard for human life.
So this is more about making a statement about Colorado?
Yeah, this shouldn't be a practical issue. This shouldn't be about what is the most efficient, what is the best way. It's fundamentally, this is a moral question. Are we okay with what is occurring in China right now? If the answer is no, then absolutely we should cut trade relations with them.
Do you think that we would be able to use our platform better to be able to influence them differently? Or do you think that they would be able to just set up trade with another state or another country?
I think it's far more likely that Colorado would be able to use this as a stepping stone to influence other states to take action in Congress and the House of Representatives to take similar actions, and then pressure the United States to take a stand on the global stage as well. I think this is the first step towards actual progress.
And what happens if China starts setting up trade with another country that reinforces their ideals?
Again, all Colorado can do is stop our own trade relations and then use that as leverage to get other states to do that, which could then have the domino effect of having the United States take that stand and having the United States in the global theater pursue and pressure other countries to take similar stands against China. At the end of the day, what we have to do is we have to stop these human rights abuses. We also cannot morally trade with them if that is ultimately because that is what they're doing.
All right, we're going to need to end the questions right there. So, KiKai, the floor is now yours for the negative side for 3 minutes. Go right ahead.
Okay, so no, Colorado should not prohibit future state government investments in China based on China's current human rights record. Firstly, this would cause damage to Colorado's economy and employment rates. Also, according to US CBC, China is Colorado's third largest export destination. In 2017, exports from Colorado to China amounted to $647 million US. In 2016, Colorado's exports to China supported 10,900 American jobs. The decrease in jobs from the cut in relations would mean that there would be a higher unemployment rate, and depending on the time frame, this could be catastrophic. Not to mention that we would need to find another source of income to replace the money lost from exporting goods to China, and there's no guarantee that any other country willing to fill in wouldn't be worse than China in this sense. Do you plan on stopping business relations with all other countries with morality issues? Another issue with this policy is that it effectively does nothing. Cutting ties with China may show Colorado's disdain for the human rights violations, which, by the way, are only prominent in certain areas of China, but that doesn't mean that human rights violations will cease. According to the National Bureau of Statistics of China, the U.S. is fifth in the amount that we export to China. And Colorado specifically is only even a fraction of that. So while prohibiting state government investments would be harmful to our state, it's likely that China would simply turn to another qualified state, or if that isn't possible, then there are a number of countries that would be more than sufficient to fill in for us. A better solution would be to put regulations on our government investments in China, or to use our standing to build a more conditional relationship and attempt to use our influence to decrease the amount of human rights violations. But no matter what route we take, prohibiting state government investment with them has to be the worst possible option. Simply put, the AFS policy would not only harm our state's employment rates and economy, it wouldn't even be an effective way to stop or reduce the human rights violations. We have a better chance of influencing them by utilizing our current platform in good standing, rather than taking a shot in the dark and praying that they change their ways because of the loss of a minor trading partner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should Colorado prohibit future state government investment in China based on China's human rights record? A big question for us today. Our two competitors are Michael and KiKai. Michael, your 2 minutes for questions to KiKai begins right now. Go ahead.
Awesome. So do you agree that we should do something about the human rights abuses in China right now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. And so then my next question for you is, what economic benefits would Colorado reap that outweigh the suffering of millions of Chinese people?
Well, we're at a time right now where jobs are essential, and the economy is already suffering due to the pandemic that's going on. So if we cut those ties, then one, there's no guarantee that it would even solve anything on that end, and two, we would also only be taking a risk of our own Coloradans and putting people out of jobs.
Okay, so you think that all of these are sufficient explanations for why Colorado should simply be a bystander?
No, I don't believe that we should be a bystander, but I do believe that as it is currently, we would be able to use our standing, maybe even to influence other states to intervene, like how you said, but that doesn't mean that we have to cut ties with them. But that also does not mean.
Great. So don't you agree that Colorado would have significant more credibility towards getting other states and eventually the nation as a whole to pursue a similar policy to this if we were the first ones to do it?
I do believe that there would be some credibility in that, but I also believe that there would be some credibility in whatever we say anyway, because we are one of the U.S.'s biggest trade partners with China. So we already know more about the subject when it comes to trading and relations with them.
All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap up that round of questions right now. Now, as the affirmative, Michael, you now have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. Go right ahead.
Awesome. I'd like to start off with my opponent's case. So my opponent offered you two great arguments, right? First of all, that Colorado individually would not be able to influence China's policy decisions. And second of all, that it would just hurt Colorado making this decision. Judge, first of all, again, as I talked about my opponents with this in cross-examination, Colorado would have significantly more credibility towards pursuing national policy, right, to make other states and to have other states make changes towards their trade relations in China if we were the first ones to do it. Now, second of all, in response to my opponent's claim about how this would hurt Colorado's economy, Judge, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is it's a price worth paying. People in like millions of people in China are being put in detention camps and are having forced sterilization and are being murdered. It's not a question of practicality at this point. It's a question of morality. My opponent has offered you fantastic practical reasons why we shouldn't do this, but that shouldn't be what's at question today. What should be at question today is what we as Coloradans are okay with our trade partners doing. My opponent also had another point in his case where he said that where does the line stop, right? The policies in China's Communist Party's practices are so draconian, they're so inhumane that is absolutely where the line stops. My opponent also mentioned himself that Colorado wouldn't be able to actually influence China, but that's not an excuse. That isn't an excuse to stand by and watch as these human rights abuses happen. we need to take a stand. Colorado has the opportunity to be one of the first countries standing up to China. And so it's for these reasons that Colorado should prohibit future state government investments in China. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much. Big questions on both sides of the story. And today's big question for you: should Colorado prohibit future state government investment in China based on China's human rights record? And KiKai, you now have 3 minutes to respond and close. Go ahead.
Okay, so to start off with some of the points that they've mentioned, they said that Colorado would have more credibility if we were the first to do something like this, but I disagree with that strongly, because if any other state was willing to do something of this magnitude, then there would already be action taken to this, and they're trying to win this argument on a morality ground, when in reality, it's not more moral to put families out of jobs in our own state and have them suffer and maybe go through starvation just to have an attempt, a very risky, low probabilities of successful attempt at influencing China or convincing other states. We already know how politically fragmented our country is in this time, and to say that Colorado putting itself in jeopardy to influence all other states to make a unanimous decision to stop something that's already been going on for a long time, it just doesn't make sense. And so also the AF was saying that they misunderstood when I said that Colorado does not have the power to influence China. I don't believe that Colorado has the empower to influence China through leaving trade relations, especially when you consider how we are only a fraction of the trade that comes to them from the United States. So us leaving would not really do anything for that in that sense, enough to influence them that way. But we do have currently good standing with them, so we would be able to more effectively utilize that to influence them. Also, yeah, so it's mainly just a really large risk, and it's not worth it, especially when you consider how important they are to us versus how important we are to them. Us leaving would only put us at risk, and it wouldn't do anything to affect them or their, I guess, mentality or practices. Thank you.
KiKai, thank you very much. Finally, Michael, you have 1 minute to close. Go right ahead.
Awesome. So what this debate has ultimately come down to is, what should Colorado do, right? Should Colorado stand by and be a bystander as we witness these human rights atrocities occurring in China, or should we, as my opponent puts it, subject ourselves to economic harm? So I would first like to mention, as far as my opponent's point about economic harms go, China absolutely is our third largest exportation market. But Colorado exports high demand goods, and we could absolutely find another market for that. We can find places to export hides and computer chips to. That's what Colorado makes. Those goods are in high demand. But this shouldn't even be what the question today is about. The question shouldn't be about practicality. The question has to be about morals. Can we, as Colorados, stand by and watch these human rights abuses happen? The answer should be no. We shouldn't be okay with this. Colorado should lead the charge towards persuading the state legislator, the federal legislator, and eventually the world towards taking a stand against these human rights abuses. And it's for these reasons that I proudly stand in affirmation of the resolution. Thank you.
Michael Dolph, KiKai Edwards, thank you very much for that spirited debate. Let's go now to our panel of experts to get their thoughts on what they saw. So, Dominic, take it away.
Gentlemen, when we dreamed up this idea of a high school debate series, we didn't know what to expect. and we're several seasons into it. We've been very proud of what we delivered. The two of you have delivered a fantastic debate on an issue that, frankly, Americans have been debating for generations. I think our forefathers were debating something like this, not about China, but about getting involved in the kind of issues you brought up. And this is an important conversation, really worldwide right now. Really well done. But your job is not over. As you know, the judges ask questions too. Krista, we're gonna start with Michael. Krista, what's your first question for Michael about his case?
Well, first I want to echo what Dominic said about just how terrific I think you both are. I competed in oratory when I was your age, and I still use those skills professionally. I have no doubt you will as well. So my first question for Michael is that we use trade embargoes as a country, against places like North Korea and Iran, and yet it does not seem to have affected the regime's behavior against minorities and other victims in those countries. Why would it work in the case of China?
So the instances, it can't just be Colorado. It can't just be the United States, right? It has to be the world. But the only way that we're going to get to a point where the entire globe is willing to take a stand against this is if we start small. If Colorado starts and persuades other states to also embark trade embargoes, and then the United States as a whole does it, the United States can use its influence, it will eventually be a domino effect, but it has to start with that first domino.
Michael, my question to you is, you make a point about centering your case on the idea that morality takes precedence. And even in the face of the cost that KiKai's case brings up, is there ever a point where the cost to Coloradans would be too high for a moral decision?
I believe that in this situation, the choice shouldn't be particularly hard. Again, because while China is our third largest major exporter, it isn't an irreplaceable market. We can replace China because we export such high demand goods, right? But at the point where it becomes a line, I don't think it's here. Where that line definitively is, I can't say, but I know for sure that it is not here. That we should prohibit future state government investments in China.
KiKai, now we have some questions for you. Krista, what's your first question for KiKai?
My first question is this: as we've had trade difficulties with China over the last 4 years, we have shifted as a nation much of our trade to countries like Vietnam. You talk about the jobs that will be lost here in Colorado if we no longer trade with China, but couldn't you say that in the case of Colorado, we would simply take that trade and place it in places like Vietnam or Laos or other places in that vicinity?
Well, that is a possibility, but it also is still very unlikely that we would be able to sufficiently replace China as a trade partner because of how much that they do consume and trade with us. So this means that if we do take up another trade partner, we don't know what the short-term effects would look like on our families and citizens in this country and our state specifically. So it could be like it's too risky. It's too risky. We don't even know whether or not us as a state would be able to influence China. So in the end, there's really no point to separate ourselves from China and then take a risk at targeting somebody else for a consumer.
KiKai, my question is, I guess, based on the idea, again, this is a clear division of core values here. You have morality on one side and yours is practicality, agreeing that something should be done. But if we keep looking at the practical arguments and determine that there really isn't anything Colorado can do as one state on a practical level to make a difference in what is happening in China, that may bring us to a point where Colorado simply does nothing. Is your practicality point endangering Colorado of ever doing anything in this situation?
No, not necessarily. The fact that if we weren't able to do anything practically, that would be an issue. But there are things that we can do. The power to influence China through like our good reputation with them and good standing is more powerful than if we were to cut off the connection with them. And if we weren't able to do anything, then it would be it would be less likely for us to try and like continue trading with them. Like, yes, that would be the best course of action. But in this case, it's not the best course of action.
Gentlemen, thank you for your answers. Alan, I wish Chris and I had another half an hour to figure this one out. We don't, we know, but give us a moment, see what we can do.
Yeah, really a long, complicated issue, and these guys did a great job handling it. We're going to give our panel a moment to consider how they felt won this debate. That's going to give me a moment to let you know that tonight's debate kicks off our third place championship matches. You can stay tuned after this debate for a consolation bracket championship that features students from East High School and Eagle Crest High School. We have covered a lot of great issues important to everybody in Colorado. So to catch up on any of the episodes, you can always go to pbs12.org. All right, Dominic, I didn't give you much time, but do you have a decision?
We do, but first and foremost, both in conversing with Krista virtually here, it is important for both of us to let you know that both of you did a fantastic job. I know we kind of say that in some shows, great job, everybody, but this was exemplary. This is a difficult question, and frankly, you could apply morality and practicality to so many issues in the United States and in Colorado. You both did a marvelous job. Our job as judges is to come up with a winner, but honestly, if we had a chance to just say you both won, we would. That is not our option. You have a job to do. We have a job to do. But in a very, very close decision, Michael, we decided that your argumentation won the day, but both of you should be very proud. Michael, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. Alan, back to you.
Michael Dolph from Holy Family High School, thank you very much. Congratulations to you. KiKai Edwards, thank you very much as well. You did West Early College High School some justice by taking part and doing a terrific job with us. You both gave our viewers a wonderful debate tonight, and you both really should be very proud. So that is a wrap for tonight. That's all we have time for our program. I want to thank our excellent students for accepting our challenge and participating in this debate. And I also want to thank our esteemed panel for sharing their thoughts. And finally, we do want to thank you for tuning in. It is the support of viewers like you and our sponsors that helps to make this show a reality. You can catch up on past episodes of this program on pbs12.org, and you can catch me on CBS4 for all the latest news and information impacting Colorado as well. For everybody here at PBS 12, I'm Alan Janay. Thanks for watching, and that is Both Sides of the Story.